Full slate of games this week in the NFL, and there was a game Thursday, Thanksgiving. By the way, hope you all had a great Thanksgiving. I certainly did. Did not have to get in my car and commute to Santa Clara. The old days, uh, media would work on Thanksgiving. And I remember I was just telling Tom Rathman, who's been in the NBC Sports Bay Area studio, about this. I remember when Tom, I guess he was a coach at the time, and he would come off the field and say, "Don't you guys have lives? Why are you here on Thanksgiving?" Well, in recent seasons, the 49ers have made Thanksgiving a dark day for the media. So I wasn't out there on Thursday, but the one game that Lions Packers game, from a 49ers standpoint, who are you rooting for? And let's just take a look right now at the current standings. Now, this is obviously before the outcome of the Bears Eagles game is known. But my thinking was just to create a little bit more separation as far as the 7th and 8th seed. I thought it behooved the 49ers for the Lions to win that game. So the 49ers are 8-4 going into this game against the Cleveland Browns. Packers 8-3-1, so they would be the 6th seed right now. And then the Lions a step back. 49ers have a 7-2 conference record in the NFC. So that really puts them in a good spot to win any tiebreaker against a team that they haven't played. I'd say keep an eye, even for today's game, Eagles and Bears. I think it helps the 49ers. I know 49ers can't ever root for the Eagles, but I think it helps the 49ers if the Bears lose, just to start that cannibalizing, I guess you could say, of the NFC North, because the Bears have a tough schedule along the way. Of all the teams right now, of those 7 that are currently in the playoffs, I would think that the Bears have the most difficult chore to hold on to a playoff spot because of what their schedule looks like the rest of the way. And so since you asked, and I know you didn't really ask, but since you asked, well, what the Bears schedule looks like is after this game against the Eagles, then they go to Green Bay December 7th, so next week, while the 49ers are on their bye week, and then they play Cleveland. That's really their last, on paper, easy game, because then the next week they have the Green Bay Packers in Chicago, and then they come to Santa Clara to play the 49ers, and then they end with the Lions. So to me, that is the most difficult road of all those teams kind of in it right now. But basically the 49ers with an 8-4 record, they just have to win the games that they should win. And if they beat the Browns, easier said than done. And if they beat the Titans after the bye week, then that puts them in a really good spot heading into the final 3 games of the season. And, I really think this year, maybe more so than other years, get into the playoffs and just about anything can happen. I think pretty clearly the Rams are the best team in the NFC right now, and that is the key word, right now. Actually, right now would be 2 words. So those are the key words right now. So much can happen, so much can change in the NFL, but right now the Rams are playing very well. But I don't think like the Eagles are a juggernaut, that they showed to be last year, certainly in the postseason. The Buccaneers, the Bears, Seahawks are beatable, Packers are beatable. So it's just one of those things. Get in, and good things could very well happen. Okay, so I talked about that game against the Browns, and every week, oh, by the way, I was going to say every week at NBCSportsBayArea.com, I put together 5 players to watch. Also, NBC Sports Bay Area, the TV station. Tonight will be the airing of 49ers game plan. I talked to John Lynch. I asked him about Brock Purdy, the offensive line, this challenge going up against Shedeur Sanders and the Browns, and Myles Garrett specifically. Also asked him about Brandon Ayuk, special teams, and just where the 49ers are right now heading into the final 5 games of the regular season. But my 5 to watch, and there are certain guys that I considered for this one, but I think the ones I ultimately settled on, pretty obvious. Let's see, was there one player I was going to go with and then opted not to? Well, I didn't include Christian McCaffrey, and of course, he's the key player every week. Um, I selected one offensive lineman. You could probably guess who. I didn't select any wide receivers because I just think it's going to be really difficult on Brock Purdy to get the ball to those guys on the outside. Um, I think the linebackers, those are key. Curtis Robinson, making his second NFL start, needs to cut down on the missed tackles. D Winners, those guys inside really need to do a good job of patrolling the middle of the field. But here are the guys that I listed for the 5 to watch, and I'll just give a thumbnail on each. And also, even before you hear my 5 to watch, do your 5 to watch down below in the comments section. Also, leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. So here are my players to watch for this week, and I think I go in basically reverse order. So started off with Bryce Huff. Sam Okwanu ruled out for this game. He will not play with a high ankle sprain. Basically, their second best pass rusher, although you can make a case for Cleveland Ferrell being their second best pass rusher right now, based on the fact that he has 2 sacks in very limited time. But Bryce Huff, this is a guy that had 4 sacks very early in the season, hasn't gotten a sack since that Sunday night game against the Atlanta Falcons. 49ers need to generate some pass rush on Shedeur Sanders. They need to force him into some mistakes, and the guy who's best capable of doing that would be Bryce Huff, coming over in the offseason trade from the Philadelphia Eagles to be a guy that was going to be a compliment for Nick Bosa. Now he has to be, in essence, kind of the main guy of the pass rushers. Also, player to watch, you can put him up every week. It's George Kittle. It's because of his action in the run game. This could be a cold, windy, slick, freezing kind of game, could be kind of nasty. So George Kittle as a run blocker, but more specifically as kind of an easy outlet for Brock Purdy. Get the ball in his hands, sit back, watch him do the rest, have him fight for those yards in the open field. This is a kind of game where George Kittle could excel. His yards per reception way down this year, only 10 yards per reception. I think he could be a major part of this 49ers offense. I think the points are going to be hard to come by. George Kittle gives the 49ers perhaps their best chance. My number 3 guy, Trent Williams. I don't know that he's had a more difficult assignment in his entire NFL career. Yeah, as a rookie, I'm sure he went up against some veteran guys and probably got taught a few lessons. But here he is, 37 years old. He's playing at a very high level. In fact, just to as a parenthetical here, checking the PFF grades, that's run blocking and pass blocking combined. Trent Williams ranks as the number 2 offensive tackle in the league, only behind Penei Sewell of the Detroit Lions. What you might not believe is that the number 6 offensive tackle is Colton McKivitz. He's greatly improved his run blocking. His pass protection has been pretty solid. But going back to Trent Williams, 85% of the times, Myles Garrett is coming off of the defense's right side, which is the offense's left side. So Myles Garrett, 18 sacks on the season. He is a load. How much will the 49ers just leave Trent Williams on an island? Or do they have to mix it up, put Luke Farrell over there a little bit, George Kittle over there a little bit, have some backs chipping coming out of the backfield. But I think the 49ers are hoping that Trent Williams can handle Garrett and just kind of hold his own so that the 49ers don't have to devote a whole lot of resources over there to help Trent Williams. So a very big challenge for Trent Williams to try to take as best as he can Myles Garrett out of the game. Number 2 guy is Jair Brown. One of the interesting things that Robert Saleh talked about on Wednesday was that on the second interception, Jair Brown's assignment was deep middle. And if you watch that play, there were 2 Panthers wide receivers lined up to the offense's right, and they both ran deep routes. They got over the top of Jair Brown. That was what Brown's responsibility was going to be. But as Robert Saleh said, he called it the difference between playing football, which is you fit in the defense where you're supposed to, or football, just going out and making a play. That's what Jair Brown did. He says there's a certain times during the course of a game, if you've done your film study, if you know tendencies, you just know what the other team is going to do. And Jair Brown basically abandoned his responsibilities in the deep middle. He broke on that ball. The Bryce Young pass to Ted McMillan over the middle makes the interception that basically clinches the game. So not as much film for Jair Brown to study going up against Shedeur Sanders, but Sanders is a guy that, I think as a rookie making his second start, he'll be prone to mistakes, whether it's ill-advised throws, whether it's holding the ball too long. And so Jair Brown has an opportunity to take a step forward and build on that momentum that he established in his 2 interception performance and NFC Defensive Player of the Week. So Jair Brown, my 4th guy to watch. It goes Bryce Huff, it goes George Kittle, Trent Williams, and Jair Brown. That obviously leaves one guy, Brock Purdy, as the player to watch for the 49ers, coming off a really bad game, or at least 2 really bad plays that led to interceptions. Most everybody I've talked to about that 3rd interception was just like, that was kind of unavoidable based on what the Panthers were doing and how JC Horn played that. But anyway, still 3 interceptions. The last time he had a 3 interception game, actually the last time he had a 4 interception game, was that Christmas game against the Baltimore Ravens in 2023. He came back with a very strong performance against the Washington Commanders. Basically, the Ravens game, he had like a 46 passer rating. The next game against the Commanders, a 127 passer rating. So this will be a game where I think a throwaway, an incomplete pass, a punt will be just fine. 49ers can't give the Browns offense any favors. They can't give them any head starts. So they just have to play a solid game. Unlike that game against Washington back in 2023, though, kind of I wouldn't say the odds, but the challenges are stacked against Brock Purdy. He's facing the number 2 ranked defense in the league as far as yards allowed. He's facing the number 2 ranked defense in the league as far as sacks. That's really good because, and obviously that number is heightened by the fact that Myles Garrett has 18 sacks. And then the weather conditions. Brock Purdy said he's never worn a glove. He played in some inclement weather games at Iowa State. He's never thought about wearing a glove. He wasn't going to test wearing a glove, and so he will not wear a glove. There's the narrative that he doesn't perform well in cold weather games or wet games. We shall see. He'll have an opportunity, and everybody will be watching him on Sunday when the 49ers take on the Cleveland Browns, a game the 49ers, it's a big game because if they win it, they're in really good shape heading down the stretch, heading into their bye week. So that's the quick rundown to get you set for this weekend. Thanks so much for watching, and that is it for now.